Welcome back to Pokemon episode summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 323, I Feel Skitty. The episode begins with Ash and the gang continuing on their way to Fall Arbor Town when they decided to take a quick lunch break at a nearby rock. Although, when Ash, Brock, and Max dug out their food that Brock had previously prepared, May only sent out her Torchic to eat, and instead decided to practice for the Fall Arbor contest with her Beautifly, sending it out. So Ash, Max, and Brock and Torchic had some entertainment while they ate, as May threw a frisbee at Beautifly, who sends it back to her by using Gust. Once May caught the frisbee, she threw it back to Beautifly, and it successfully sent it back to her with a gust for the second time. May was very happy to see that Beautifly had succeeded 2 times in a row, and was confident that she would win the Fall Arbor contest for sure. She decided to throw the frisbee one more time, though, in hopes that Beautifly would master the gust technique by doing this. But she was so zoned out, thinking about how she was going to win the Fall Arbor contest for sure, that she ended up throwing the frisbee in the wrong direction. Also throwing it way too far, as it landed in the forest, disappearing in some bushes. May, not wanting to go get the frisbee herself, pleads with her Torchic to go get it, and her Torchic agrees as it speeds off down the trail to get the frisbee. Although it soon saw that the trail was actually a slope, and it ran down the slope super fast, which got steeper and steeper, causing it to crash into a rock, head first. Surprisingly, despite how big and sharp the rock was, Torchic was not fazed by the impact, and simply got up, and simply continued on as it spotted the frisbee in the distance. Right as Torchic had made it to the frisbee, and was about to take it though, it heard a noise, almost like some whining or meowing in the grass, specifically in a nearby bush, so Torchic went to investigate, jumping and trying to step on the bush as it entered the tall grass. Meanwhile, Ash and the gang had realized that Torchic had returned, so even though May didn't want to go after the frisbee, she decided to go after it herself, and also find out where Torchic had gone off to. They found the frisbee after going down the hill, and picked it up, but they didn't see Torchic near it, so they called its name, looking for it, and Torchic answered back by responding with its name, and Ash and gang were able to determine that the sound was coming from a bush, with Ash being the first one to hear this. So, they went to this bush to investigate, as Torchic chirped, and after following these chirps, Ash and the gang were able to find Torchic with a pink Pokemon who was shivering, leading Brock to determine that it was either sad or sick, or both. Ash and the gang also saw that Torchic was trying to comfort this sad and sick Pokemon, which Ash had never seen before, so he used his Pokedex on it to learn more information, and found out that it was called Skitty, and known for its cuteness. May indeed thought that Skitty was cute as fuck, and wanted to catch it so it could join her team, thinking it would be perfect for contests. So, May ordered Torchic to battle the Skitty so that she could capture it, although Torchic refused to battle, not wanting to battle the Skitty since it was comforting it, and Skitty didn't want to battle either, since it was too sick. And May noticed that Skitty didn't react when she sent out Torchic, so she noticed that it must have been really sick. Ash and the gang, not wanting to see the Skitty suffer, decided to work together to try and find out the reason for its sickness so that they could treat it. May thought that Skitty was just super sad and sick because of that, so she hugged it tightly, although this didn't do anything. So, Brock tried to offer the Skitty some food, his handmade Pokemon food, but Skitty just sniffs it and then refuses, indicating to Brock that it must have liked the smell of the food, but it was just too sick and tired to eat. Brock then did a pose, stating that as a breeder, he knew exactly what to do, stating he knew a place that they could take Skitty to make it better. And Ash and the gang inquired as to what exactly this place was, although Brock didn't say anything, as he just walked forward, as Ash and the gang followed, with Brock stating that he would take care of the Skitty by taking it to this place no matter what. On their way to whatever this place was, Ash and the gang walked by some Oddish and Weepinbell, and soon after arrived at their destination, which was a small building decorated with flowers, which Brock clarified was the entrance to the Pokemon Aromatherapy Laboratory, which was also known as the Greenhouse. Apparently the perfect place for Skitty to heal up. Ash had no clue what aromatherapy meant, thinking that aromatherapy might have been a new Pokemon he had never heard of, but Brock explained that aromatherapy was a method of healing using fragrances, and clarified that the flowers should heal Skitty up in no time. Just then, while May was still showing her disappointment towards Ash for not knowing what aromatherapy meant, a woman was then revealed to be standing at the entrance of the aromatherapy laboratory, and instantly noticed Ash and gang, asking if she could be of assistance to them. Brock immediately ran up to the front entrance of the aromatherapy laboratory because he had recognized this woman as Eliza and was in love with her and tried to flirt with her as he did with any usual girl, admitting that he had heard a lot about her from an infomercial for the laboratory, and stated how he was impressed how Eliza apparently owned this whole laboratory all by herself. Max was annoyed by Brock's attitude, suspecting that the entire reason why Brock had led them to this aromatherapy place was solely because he was attracted to the owner. May then explained to Eliza that Skitty was sick, so Eliza invited Ash and the gang in so she could take a look at Skitty, and Brock tried to thank her immensely for this, flirting with her again, which pissed Max off even more, as he dragged Brock off by the ear. He was taking off after Misty shoes after all. Whoa. Brock loved Eliza so much, though, that he broke free from Max's pulling and tried to flirt with her again, trying to impress her by stating that he was a breeder. But Max just pulled him by the ear again, and he wasn't able to break free this time. Eliza then took Ash and the gang inside, as she promised, and showed them a whole bunch of potions that she had made, which were fragrances from grass-type Pokemon, combined with aromatic plants and herbs, as well as flowers. Ash holds up a potion and asks what was special about this one, leading Eliza to reveal that that one was a mix of the sweet scents of Pokemon such as Oddish and Weepinbell, coincidentally the Pokemon that Ash and the gang had spotted earlier. Ash and the gang then smelled several of the potions and exclaimed that they all smelled really good, leading Eliza to reveal that that wasn't their main purpose. Their main purpose was to heal. Brock then tried to flirt with Eliza again, stating that he loved aromatherapy as much as her, and the potions didn't even need to smell good, since she smelled good enough, and Brock proceeded to sniff Eliza, startling her, and also resulting in Brock getting pulled away by Max once again. Eliza then continued to show Ash and the gang several of her potions, amazing May, although May remembered that Skitty was her main priority, as Eliza had May sit Skitty on a couch, and she examined it, coming to the conclusion that Skitty wasn't sick, just extremely tired, and also realizing that since Skitty had been out alone in the forest, not moving for so long, due to how tired it was, it had also lost its scent, and therefore this made the Skitty not as attractive to other Pokemon as most other Skitties, although May rebutted that she still thought that Skitty was cute, although Eliza explained that May only thought that because she wasn't actually attracted to the Skitty, she just found it cute since she was a human. What, are you implying that human and Pokemon relationships can't exist? Have you seen the Typhlosion documents? Anyways, in order to both give Skitty a more pleasant scent, as well as cure Skitty's tiredness, Eliza began to mix up some flowers, herbs, and other scents, along with already pre-existing potions, all into one big concoction that was supposed to heal up the Skitty. As Ash and the gang watched in amazement, especially Brock, who proceeded to state his amazement with Eliza, leading Max to drag him off again. Once the scent was made, Eliza placed it in an aerosol container, which acted as a sprayer so she could spray the fragrance all over the area. Pikachu found the scent very amusing, as it breathed it in and out very happily, and Skitty was positively impacted by the scent as well, instantly making it feel far more energized and happy, and also, because of the scent being inflicted on it now, it felt a lot cuter, since it would now be able to attract other Pokemon. Although Eliza clarified that it would take some time for Skitty to regain its full aroma and attractiveness, it's only just started the process. So she offered Ash and the gang a tour of the laboratory and the greenhouse around the laboratory and the garden and shit like that in the meantime. And Ash, Brock, and Max agreed to go, though May decided to stay behind and protect Skitty, not wanting anything bad to happen to it again. So Eliza took Ash, Max, and Brock outside to the garden, where Max spotted some Oddish walking to release their scent so that Eliza could extract it naturally. Basically, the more they walked, the more scent the Oddish released. Max took interest in this and started to examine the Oddish while May was petting Skitty on the sofa inside the laboratory. Meanwhile, Team Rocket were in their Meowth balloon, happening to fly just over the aromatherapy laboratory, and they spied on it with their binoculars. Knowing that the place was an aromatherapy laboratory, James seemed interested in perhaps taking some of the scents from the laboratory and using it on his Cacnea, while Jessie, on the other hand, wanted to use some of the scents on her Dustox, believing that their Pokemon breathing in those scents could help them with their battle abilities. Meowth, on the other hand, suggested that they should steal some of the scent mixtures that were being brewed at the laboratory and give them to Giovanni, as he then had a boss fantasy about Giovanni's move improving thanks to the scents so much that he would happily brush his teeth one morning after waking up, and then he'd step outside of his headquarters and decide that he was going to give Team Rocket a promotion just because he was so grateful to them for giving this awesome smelling aroma. James was initially excited by this, but he then read a sign by the aromatherapy laboratory which stated that all the mixtures to be brewed were only to be used on Pokemon. So Jessie suggested that they do what they originally were going to do, which was power up their Pokemon with the aroma potions, also adding that they would obviously have to steal them to do this, which James and Meowth agreed to. Wobbuffet then popped out of his Pokeball in excitement, hoping that it would be powered up with the aroma, but Jessie simply angrily recalled it, stating that she would not give any of the aroma to Wobbuffet, stating that there was no way that Wobbuffet could ever improve. Eventually, Ash and Brock and Max arrived back inside the laboratory where May and Skitty were, although Eliza didn't, since she had to do something quick in the garden. But anyways, Ash, Brock, and Max asked May how Skitty was doing, with May admitting that Skitty was completely okay now, and Ash, Brock, and Max saw this as they watched as Skitty seemed to jump around happy and begged May to play with it as it put on a cute smile. But then Skitty noticed its tail and started to chase it, going around so fast that it ended up falling, with its tail managing to land on its head somehow, making Ash and Brock laugh, and Max amused. Then, Ash and May and Max and Brock noticed that Skitty had took notice of a nearby glowing curtain, thanks to some wind outside, and it was intrigued by this, so it went to jump at it. Ash then tries to get Skitty's attention by taking out a mop and holding it out in front of Skitty. Where'd he get the mop? Let's just say he got it from the corner. Anyways, Ash sees that Skitty really enjoyed playing with mop strings, and just stuff with strings in general. Ash tried to see if Skitty would end up going after the mop so much that it would jump into his lap, although Skitty simply just dragged the mop out of Ash's hands. Just then, Eliza walked in, done with her duties outside, so she wanted to check on Skitty, though before she could, Brock jumped at her, trying to flirt with her again, leading Max to pull Brock away for the fucking 5th time this episode. Damn, they're really making up for this not happening for a while, huh? Skitty then became bored with the mop, so it started to run around again, finding something new to do. Since it tried to chase its own tail around, which May thought was adorable, although Skitty wasn't satisfied by this, so it continued to run around. When suddenly it noticed Pikachu, followed by its tail, and it excitedly started chasing Pikachu, trying to get a hold of its tail. Though May stops it, as Pikachu seemed kind of distressed by this. stopping Skitty by picking it up into her arms and hugging it, because, let's be real, although May did want to save Pikachu, she just wanted to cuddle the Skitty as well. Skitty tried to break free, still wanting to go after Pikachu, but seeing how much May wanted it to stay, Skitty gave up on chasing Pikachu. With Eliza adding that Skitty also just decided to give up, most likely because it was tired as fuck once again from doing all the playing it had been doing. And so, to get Skitty's energy back up, Eliza took Skitty to her food storage and gave Eliza some food to keep up its strength, as Brock gave Skitty some of his food as well, and saw that Skitty did in fact like it, since it had enough energy to actually eat now. With Skitty now having an energy boost thanks to the food, May declared that it was now the perfect time for her to try and catch Skitty, as she still wanted to, sending out Torchic to battle it. Eliza pleaded with May not to battle inside the lab so that nothing could get broken, although the battle was already underway, with Skitty actually making the first attack, knocking Torchic over with a tackle attack, although Torchic was able to recover and strike Skitty with a quick attack. This knocked Skitty down, so May smiled as she prepared to use a Pokeball, with Ash confirming that this was a good idea, since Skitty was weakened. Although, right before May could throw her Pokeball, Team Rocket then smashed through the window, arriving in royal costumes, startling everyone as James was dressed more womanly and Jessie was dressed more manly. Team Rocket then did their motto, and Jessie followed up by sending out her Viper and having it use haze, making the entire building full of smoke, eliminating the smell of all the potions and making Ash and the gang cough, as well as blinded, unable to see, as Team Rocket began to steal all of the potions, wearing goggles to not be affected by the smoke. Basically, they were wearing see-through goggles. As Team Rocket were putting all of the potions in some loot bags, though, Skitty ran up to Meowth. And Meowth was able to see Skitty through his goggles, and since Skitty was also a cat-like Pokemon, like him, and he was reminded of the Skitty back in Big Town that he had encountered during his special episodes, he immediately fell in love with Skitty. As James was currently stealing more potions, Eliza managed to see him through the smoke and screamed out, yelling for someone to stop him, and Brock, wanting to impress Eliza, did so, bravely tackling James to the ground. Although this caused James' bag of potions to go flying out of his hand, which broke the bottles in the process, causing all of the materials inside the potions to spill out onto the floor. And all the spilled ingredients then mixed together, causing the whole place to get shrouded in a white mist, which Ash, May, Brock, Jessie, James, Eliza, and Max all thought smelled horrible as they coughed and tried to cover their mouths, although all the Pokemon like Pikachu, Meowth, Skitty, Viper, and Wobbuffet seemed to really enjoy the smell as Pikachu started to dance, and Meowth started to feel horny, confirming the warning that the scents were not meant for humans, only for Pokemon. Or at least certain ones anyway, because there were certain scents that Ash and the gang did think smelled good before. Anyways, upon seeing how Ash and the gang were distracted by holding their noses to block out the smell, even though Team Rocket was doing this as well, they took the opportunity to jump out the window, with Jessie carrying at least one bag of mixtures that she still had, and she managed to procure a second one as well. And yeah, they jumped out the window and ran off to their Meowth balloon. The scent, the white mist, and the smoke all eventually faded, allowing Ash and the gang to see that Team Rocket was gone, although May spotted that Skitty was gone as well, and began to panic, although Ash and Brock declared that the most important thing was getting to Team Rocket, since they had taken some of the potions, and Max and Eliza agreed, as they all ran after Team Rocket out the window. Right as Team Rocket were about to take off in their Meowth balloon, Ash and the gang showed up, along with Eliza, noticing that Jessie and Meowth had gotten into the balloon, but not James, so Brock hurriedly ran up to James and tackled him again, knocking James to the ground, allowing Brock to retrieve his bag of the potions he was holding. Jessie then sends out her Viper again and orders it to take the bag back from Brock, but Ash quickly sent out his Corphish and had to use a Bubble Beam to knock Viper back into the Meowth balloon, also knocking it out completely. In order to get revenge on Corphish, James then sends out his Cacnea and has it use a pin missile on it, but Corphish wards off the pin missile with Harden. Just then, the Weeping Bell from earlier come out of some bushes, and James was surprised by this, as he remembers his old Victory Bell and gets distracted by thinking about capturing the Weeping Bell, wanting to get a Victory Bell replacement. Though Jessie was impatient, not wanting to risk Ash and the gang being able to get her potions from her, so she declared that if James wouldn't come in the balloon immediately, then she and Meowth would leave without him, and James didn't come in the balloon right away, so Jessie did just that, taking off in the Meowth balloon with Meowth. Even though James was definitely not focused on battling, since he was too focused on the Weeping Bell, Ash was still focused on the battle, commanding Corphish to use Crab Hammer on Cacnea, which ended up knocking Cacnea into James, and knocking James up into the taking off Meowth balloon, so James was able to go with Jessie and Meowth anyways. Although Team Rocket couldn't escape, as Ash then sent out his Tailo and had to use Wing Attack on the Meowth balloon to send Team Rocket blasting off. Ash and the gang celebrate at the fact that Team Rocket was gone, and Brock was especially happy, bragging to Eliza that he had gotten back one of the bags of the potions, although Eliza wasn't happy, as she wanted the other bag of potions as well, that Jessie had still got away with. With Team Rocket gone, May takes the opportunity to go and look around the area for Skitty, wondering where it went, and she comes back to everyone else to inform them that she couldn't find it, and states her assumption that Team Rocket might have accidentally took it with them, as it didn't make sense that it wasn't there. Meanwhile, Team Rocket had blasted off into the woods, and they quickly climbed out of their destroyed Meowth balloon, and James was depressed not only at the blast-off, but at the fact that he couldn't catch a Weeping Bell. Jessie, however, was happy, reminding James that they still managed to get away with one bag of potions, and they excitedly opened this bag, wanting to see what potions they had. Jessie was happy to see that all the bottles were not broken from the Meowth balloon crashing, miraculously, as she then pulled two of them out and began to examine them, although Meowth was distracted by another bottle he pulled from the bag, remarking that it smelled very good. Meowth soon forgot all about this amazing smell, though, as he found something that he loved even more, as suddenly, Skitty revealed itself, walking out of Team Rocket's bag, indicating that Team Rocket had accidentally grabbed it while they were grabbing all the potions, and upon seeing Skitty, Meowth fell in love once again, going absolutely insane with love. Fortunately for Meowth, Skitty seemed to love Meowth as well, or at least its tail, as Skitty grabbed Meowth's tail and happily played with it. Jessie found this cute, so she decided to see if Skitty would play with her, as she held out a twig with a leaf on it and waved it in front of Skitty, making Skitty divert all its attention to it. James tries to point out that Skitty seemed to play with anything that moved, because Jessie had held out the twig and moved it, although Jessie was convinced that the Skitty was playing with her because it wanted to join her, and she was grateful because she wanted Skitty to join Team Rocket as well, finding it very cute and amazing, declaring that she was going to try and capture it. Although Meowth initially wanted Skitty to join Team Rocket as well, he soon realized that this would be a terrible idea, and got extremely worried, as he thought about how, if Skitty were a member of Team Rocket, it would have to withstand getting hurt a lot when they battled Ash and the gang, remembering how strong Pikachu's Thunderbolt was, how strong Corphich's Crabhammer was, how strong Trico's Bullet Seed was, and also just fucking Brock's Pokemon and May's Pokemon as well. So Meowth, wanting to keep Skitty safe from being blasted off, managed to come out of his little fear that he was having in his mind, where he imagined all of the attacks from Trico, Corphish, and Pikachu blasting them off, and suggested to Jessie and James that instead of making Skitty a member of Team Rocket, they just take it and give it to Giovanni as a present, essentially giving Giovanni a new pet. Meowth then has yet another boss fantasy about how Giovanni would be super happy to have Skitty wake him up in the morning, and then Skitty could support him during his morning routine and his entire day. James thought that this was a good idea, so that he could get a promotion from Giovanni since he would be so happy, although Jessie wasn't happy with this idea, as she wanted Skitty all to herself to train it as her newest Pokemon. Meowth tried to argue with Jessie, stating that his plan was better, but Meowth didn't win, as Jessie just made fun of him, stating that she was more important than him since she was a human and he was a Pokemon. Jessie, believing that she basically won the argument, then leaves Meowth and goes to talk to James about what she planned to do with the Skitty. While Jessie and James were distracted talking, Meowth takes the opportunity to go off to the nearby lake with Skitty, the two of them alone, as Meowth stated that the only reason why he wanted to take Skitty with him was so that he could show it where it could get water, especially fresh water. Although Meowth then reveals to Skitty his true reason for pulling it aside, which was he wanted to warn it to run away, stating that if it stayed with them, it would have a rough life as a Pokemon owned by Jessie, going into detail that Jessie was a dangerous trainer, and that Skitty wouldn't last very long in her hands, and advised that it shouldn't trust Jessie. However, Skitty wasn't frightened by this whatsoever, as it was just happy to be with Meowth right now, even though Meowth tried to tell it that Meowth was interested in Skitty as well, although he simply just wanted it to go away, since he didn't want Skitty to be harmed, stating that a cute Pokemon like Skitty didn't deserve to be harmed and potentially have their cuteness fucked up by an injury. Meowth then heard Jessie and James approaching, likely wondering why Meowth had went off by himself. So Meowth knew that he had to get Skitty to run away, so he threw a rock to encourage Skitty to chase it, and sure enough, Skitty played fetch as it ran into the bushes, going after the rock, so Team Rocket couldn't see it. Meowth sulked for a little bit that Skitty was now gone, even though he wanted Skitty to go, when suddenly he was startled as Jessie showed up, asking where Skitty went. Meowth couldn't think of a good lie on the spot, so he simply just said that Skitty had got away, making Jessie extremely angry as she beat Meowth to shit by kicking him and punching him. Although Meowth cried at this due to the pain, but he knew that his pain was for the best, since Skitty had escaped the fate of never-ending Team Rocket blastoffs and defeat, and the pain that would come with that. Basically, he was happy to take pain if it meant that his lover Skitty didn't have to. Meanwhile, back with Ash and the gang and Eliza, Ash had told his Halo to do an aerial search to try and find Skitty, as Ash and the gang and Eliza had tried to look on foot, but they weren't making much progress. Soon enough, Halo came back to Ash with news that it had spotted something, as it led Ash and the gang and Eliza to Team Rocket's destroyed balloon, although they didn't see any member of Team Rocket there, nor Skitty. Eliza, though, got an idea to send out an Oddish that she actually fully owned, not just a wild one, and told it to use Sweet Scent, with the goal of luring Skitty, Team Rocket, or both of them, over. Though Ash and the gang and Eliza covered their noses so that they wouldn't be affected by the Sweet Scent. Pikachu did, but it almost didn't, meaning it almost got affected. Meanwhile, as for Team Rocket, Jessie, James, and Wobbuffet had begun searching for Skitty, and Meowth was forced to go searching with them. Just then, though, it was revealed that the Sweet Scent only really affected Pokemon to a huge extent, so Meowth and Wobbuffet were able to smell the Sweet Scent and began rushing towards the source of the scent, just as Ash and the gang had planned, because Jessie and James followed after Meowth and Wobbuffet, hoping that they would lead them to Ash and the gang. And sure enough, Meowth and Wobbuffet did, as Ash and the gang and Eliza came face to face with Team Rocket. May immediately demanded to know from Team Rocket where Skitty was, not seeing it with them, although Jessie asked the same question, wondering where Skitty went, thinking that it may have went back to Ash and the gang, but both groups saw that Skitty hadn't come back to either of them. Suddenly, Skitty appeared out of some nearby bushes, much to the shock of everyone. Meowth panicked, trying to get Skitty to run away again, not wanting anything bad to happen to it, although Jessie heard Meowth's words and got angry, realizing that Meowth had purposely scared Skitty off, but Meowth simply just stops talking as to not make Jessie any angrier, and Jessie soon forgets about Meowth as she goes up to grab Skitty, although May does as well, causing Jessie and May to yell at each other, since they both argued that Skitty belonged to them. And eventually, the argument boiled into such a huge one that they decided to battle it out, and the winner of the battle would therefore get Skitty. So, Jessie sent out her Dustox, and May sent out her Beautyfly. Beautyfly started off the battle by using a gust attack, but Dustox simply managed to fly through the gust, only being blown back a little bit, as Dustox then flew towards Beautyfly, going for multiple tackle attacks, but Beautyfly dodged every single one, leaving Dustox to instead try a Psybeam, but Beautyfly just dodged this again, and continued to dodge multiple more Psybeams, before retaliating with a super strong tackle, sending Dustox towards the ground. And since Dustox couldn't defend itself, Beautyfly used one last gust attack, blowing Jessie, James, Dustox, Meowth, and Wobbuffet all into their crashed Meowth balloon. Ash then jumped in, having Pikachu use Thunderbolt to send Team Rocket blasting off. May then happily grabbed Skitty and hugged it, declaring that she was now going to catch it since no one stood in her way, and asked Skitty to get inside the Pokeball as she went to go throw it. However, much to May's surprise, Skitty thought the Pokeball was a toy and began pawing at it in May's hand, knocking it out of May's hand in the process. Since Skitty was playing a little too rough and was trying to jump on it, Skitty then jumped out of May's arms to go after the rolling Pokeball, and managed to get up to it, and grabbed a hold of it, touching the center of the ball in the process, causing it to open, and Skitty curiously went into the Pokeball, essentially catching itself by accident, which surprised May, as she was just throwing the Pokeball by chance to see if it would catch. She figured that she would actually have to battle Skitty first, although Brock pointed out that this was a fair catch, since May did technically battle Skitty before. May was overjoyed by this, and happily declared that she had a new friend in her Skitty, as she did a victory pose upon catching the Skitty with her Beautyfly. And Brock, Eliza, Ash, and Max then congratulated May on her catch, and they all returned to the aromatherapy laboratory. Once back there, Ash and the gang knew that it was time for them to continue on their journey, since May now had the Skitty. So, Eliza gave Ash and the gang directions to the most close road to Fall Arbor Town, stating that they weren't far once they reached that road. Before Ash and gang depart, though, Brock hurriedly goes up to Eliza one last time to try and flirt with her again, but Max just drags him off, and Ash and the gang continue on to Fall Arbor Town, saying goodbye to Eliza, as Eliza wished May luck in her Fall Arbor contest, confident that Skitty would do well in it. As Ash and the gang continued on, much to their surprise, Skitty suddenly popped out of its Pokeball, which was in May's backpack, all on its own, and began cheerfully chasing its own tail, running in circles, until it got dizzy, doing multiple cute poses to try and shake off its dizziness. May, trying to help out her Skitty, picked it up and tried to shake off its dizziness, as Ash remarked how Skitty reminded him of one of Misty's Pokemon, Psyduck, since they both had a habit for forcibly popping out of their Pokeball, although pointed out that, unlike Misty with her Psyduck, May seemed to really like Skitty, as despite Skitty forcibly popping out of its Pokeball, May hugged it tightly.